London Real, sponsored by Bulletproof Coffee.
Tom, I ask everyone that's sitting in that chair a question, and I'm going to ask you, if you could make a phone call to the 20-year-old Tom Rhodes and give that young man a bit of advice, what would you tell him?
Don't worry so much. Everything's going to work out just fine. You are going to get everything you ever dreamed in life and beyond, more than you ever could imagine. Don't drink so much. You're going to have some really fine quality women. And maybe you should give a few of them more of a chance.
That's good advice. That's very good advice. On that same note, what's the best advice you've ever received?
This is fucked because I do the same thing on my podcast. I always ask people, what's the greatest advice you've ever been given as a comedian?
But for the record, I couldn't answer the questions I'm asking you.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me that day, and I was like, what?
Best advice. I mean, so I'm thinking comedy advice, but best advice.
I'm curious what the comedy advice is a little bit.
You know, my father was a salesman, and so he gave me some of the best comedy advice ever. Because I used to go up and I would do something dark or hard right up in the front. And my dad said, they'll buy from a friend before they will a stranger. Once you make friends with the audience, then you can take them anywhere. That was probably one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given as a comedian. But my father also, about a year before he died, there was some shit I was worried about, just some, typical shit in the career, some club or something. I can't even remember what it was. My dad said to me, I was stressed out about something. Maybe it was a woman. And he said, you gotta find a way to be happy because life goes by quick. He goes, just do me a favor, man. Just be happy. Don't fucking worry so much. And I think that's probably the best advice ever. And I think it applies to everybody and everything. And now that I'm older, it's true. I mean, life goes by in a fucking blink. When you're young and in your 20s and my wife is fabulous. And I met her and I came to the point, I'm like, God damn, how many fabulous women am I going to let slip through my fingers? There was a number of women I should have married. I'm glad I ended up with my wife. And I mean, it took me that much time in my life to realize, fucking these fabulous women don't come around every day. Not women like this who just fucking love you and wipe the snot off your nose and, make sure everything's great. I think being happy is the greatest revenge, man. Just, people that have tried to impede your growth as a human or your career or whatever, just, living victoriously and just being a happy person. And it's like we're talking about, doing the podcast, doing everything yourself now. We live in that world. And it's great. It brings me joy. Makes me happy. Putting out episodes, my podcast, putting up videos on YouTube. And the fact that I'm one of the few comedians that plays all over the world and that I don't live anywhere. And I travel the world with my beautiful wife. She's a photographer. I'm happy.
Last part of that question, what's the advice to the 20-year-old listening that wants to one day grow up be like Tom Rhodes? Or to the 20-year-old maybe comedian starting out? What do you tell them?
What would I think I just answered it, I mean, just keep writing jokes. Just keep doing what you're doing. I think the 20-year-old me would be very happy with the way everything turned out. And I think the 20-year-old me would look at me and go, you don't have a problem in the world, brother. You're the coolest guy in the world. I think the 20-year-old me would have thought that the 47-year-old me sitting here right now was a true bad motherfucker.
Tom, you are a bad motherfucker. This week on London Real, we have astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I wake up every morning astonished that an astrophysicist can have 1.7 million Twitter followers. The cosmos is anything where it's a frontier of human knowledge of how the world works. There's so many forces that want to deny a scientific truth just because it conflicts with their ideology. I thought of myself, because I could wrestle, as sort of a defender of geeks. There is no teacher in any time in my life, from kindergarten through 12th grade and beyond, who ever would have said, he'll go far. And the act of finding out is the lesson, not the lesson itself.
On Sunday, London Real presents Neil deGrasse Tyson, Cosmos.
I'm happy to report that there's an appetite for the cosmos out there.